So you just picked up Anno 117 and are feeling a little bit overwhelmed. There's a lot of information that might be hurled at you all at once, and you don't know which ones are the most important to focus on, and what ones you can put to the side, or your first playthrough didn't really go as planned. Well, first of all, I want to tell you, don't feel discouraged, because that's how a lot of Anno players, when they start off these games, definitely do feel. And there are people like me who will help guide you through it. So don't worry, I got you. My name's Rantius. Let's get this going, my friend. So just before we start, I definitely want to mention, if you are new here, please consider checking out the channel. I'm very active here. Would love for you to be a part of our growing community. All the social media links are in the description, along with the main channel page. I do stream this game on Twitch a couple times per week. Would love for you to be there. Drop a follow. 100% up to you if you want to even subscribe to the Imperium's channel right over here on YouTube. Feel free to do so. I'll be quite penetrated with your kindness, my friend. So, along with that, this is not going to be the only guide that I'm going to be putting out. I will be putting out guides for a lot of other bits about this game, so they will definitely degrade over time. I do also want to mention that if you have a question, need anything clarified, please put it in the comment section. I do respond to as many comments as I possibly can, and if somebody else manages to get that particular answer for you before ahead of time, that's fantastic. Encourage that as well. Just make sure that we're always respectful to one another in the comment section. We're here to have fun, okay? We're here to have fun, play the game. Let's keep it that way. Let's maintain that respect. And for the most part, you guys have been doing so throughout my entire time being on YouTube, so let's continue on with that good track. So, starting off your initial game, you're going to want to click on this really awesome new game mode. You will not have the load game above, unless you've started off a playthrough and it hasn't worked out as planned. But you're going to be prompted with two game modes here, one being the campaign and the other one being an endless mode. So the campaign is what I would mention as a good way to start, because obviously its story is pretty good. I mean, I've gone through it. It's a really nice story. It helps you really slowly understand the different chains, starting off with your population sizes, etc., and it does limit you from additional progression based on the story, which is nice. Gives you like an intro to the combat, gives you an intro to like the production goods, the two regions that are currently available, and obviously the story, which is definitely a thing. At the end of the story, it doesn't cut off. What happens is it converts into an endless mode. So if you want to continue on with that, you definitely can stick with campaign. If you don't, and you just want to, jump in there, start making your own island, don't worry about the conditions of the story mode, we can go with endless. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to go with endless. So the very first one that we're going to look at, obviously, is just making your own profile. And this can be like literally anything. It'll just cycle through a whole bunch of different names, different characters that you can choose from, different banner colors, etc. I mean, I'm the one that came up with the banners, but I kind of like that name, and she'd be looking kind of cool, so we're going to go with that. The next one is difficulty. Now, again, for a newer Anno player, you probably don't want to be focusing on the advanced and definitely not the veteran. Having said that, I haven't been doing a veteran mode playthrough. You can go check it out. I'll put a link to the start of that particular series at the end of this video. This is the hardest NPC. He is the hardest NPC in the game currently, and he expands like no freaking tomorrow. So let's just stick with the normal mode. Let's go in here to edit. You can either decide to go 100% with what the game has already preset for you, which is totally fine. You will have a very good gameplay experience because all of the NPCs that we will go through with this particular mode will ask you before colonizing islands. That kind of relieves the strain on you. As you get more difficult AI, they will not care. They will just expand to their heart's content and just go with that. And also in the normal difficulty, the settlement costs, the land taxes, inactive upkeep, because all the stuff that you put down, your units, your buildings, they will have a maintenance cost and an upkeep. Them being on low and inactive upkeep, if they're not working, being on none, helps you out with your finances, construction costs, refunds. The city incidents, this one is a little bit for the intermediate players that might be stumbling upon this video. You can, if you decide that you want to stick with the normal mode because you like the NPCs, you can go ahead and jack them up to medium if you want, or incident protection beyond a specific point. You can do that if you so choose, and as you see down here, as I'm changing some of these options, it's actually increasing the third star, in which it's getting closer to an advanced level playthrough, as you see there. But I'm going to reset all because we want to just keep it as simple as possible. Game start, normally go with a flagship. You can choose to just have flagship with escort, trade fleet, war fleet, none, which will start off with like an island. Go with the flagship. Activated for a starter island, that's great. Again, all this stuff is nice. You will have plenty of fertilities when you start off a brand new game, when you start in normal mode. Anything further up, you'll get less and less. Game world, you can choose the map layout. Really depends on what you feel is nice. If you decide that you want to go ahead and take a look-see at the veteran mode playthrough and are wondering what the map seed for that one is, it is indeed 40-40. So we can go ahead and put 40-40 in there and see what happens. Game content, this is for the pirates specifically. So Kaiso is the pirate in Latium, and Voada is the pirate in Albion. So you can choose to keep them active or keep them dormant. That will reduce the amount of, aggressive patrols, because they can be a little bit aggressive with all of this, them going after you, attacking your ships, and that definitely does make you a little bit on the how should we say, defensive, and it might mess with you a little bit, might make you stressed out, because the ideal condition is you don't stress out while playing this game. That's what I want to definitely do, because the moment you start stressing, the retention goes down, the interest goes down, and you're just like, nah, I'm done, I don't want to play this anymore. In Anno 117, you have a overlord mechanic. It's obviously titled Emperor. You have two individuals, one being Calidus, which a majority of people go with him. You also have Julia Augusta. I'm not going to talk about her specifically based off of campaign spoilers, but and obviously both of them can be in that particular regard. Eventually, they will come and ask you for certain goods to be provided to them in exchange for reputation. The higher reputation you have with them, the better the bonuses. The lower reputation you have with them, well, for lack of better words, one of them are going to come over with a massive army and curb stomp you, and it's not fun. So let's just confirm this. We are going to continue on with the custom, because now it's become custom. And you have an option at this point to even turn off the NPCs. If you just want to be alone in here, you can do that. Fun fact, you can later in-game ask the Emperor that you have chosen in between the two to add another governor to the region. So maybe you just want to have that startup and then later have one drawn in. That's not a problem. But you can go ahead and add governor. We're just going to bring back this lovely individual, this lovely individual, and this lovely individual. So we have three. Wonderful. Going over to the overview, now we see all the stuff that we have, our character, our name, basically what our game is all about, and the different NPCs in here. But now you have another one to pick from. You have two provinces that you can start off in. You have Latium, which is the beating heart of the Empire, or you have Albion. But did you notice something happened on the screen in between these two? I'll give you another one to look at. Look at the participants. This is something new that they have added with Anno 117 as opposed to Anno 1800. In 1800, you would only be allowed to start in the old world unless you probably had a mod that will allow you to spawn in the new world. I don't know if there is one. I'm just spitballing. But here you have these two regions that are currently unlocked. And again, at the time of this recording, these are the only two that you have. But one of the participants only is allowed to start off in Latium, and that is Dorian. Dorian is the only one that can start off in Latium, but that does not mean he's not in the game. When the game starts, and if you decide to choose Albion, he will still start off in Latium, so when you go there later, you will stumble across him. That's a really cool one. There is also another NPC that does that. I believe he's a Celtic king. I'm not sure what his name is. I never remember. But nevertheless, that is a cool mechanic, and allowing to start in any region you so choose is really great. So let's just go ahead and set sail. And welcome to your insanely awesome island as it slowly starts to reveal itself further and further. There is a massive fog of war all around you, so that means you're going to have to go and do some exploring, my friend. But the first thing that you want to do is take a good look-see at your terrain. These islands can get pretty massive, which allows you to build a fair amount on them, and in this particular sense, this place is absolutely ginormous. So what we want to start off doing initially is taking a look-see at what options we have here. We have our dirt roads, we have our Libertas residents, which are the lowest class. We have a warehouse, and we have tools. So the tool category being the demolish, the relocation tool, upgrade tool, copy tool, and cosmetic tool. We're not going to really worry about this one because cosmetics are... I'm just not going to cover that right now. That's not really core game mechanic. But mostly what we want to focus on is starting to get our timber chain up and running. And the way you do that, we already have 30 in here, is by clicking on it, and you will see what's necessary in order to get this started. You have the woodcutter first, and then you have the sawmill. Before you do anything, you have to check up here, obviously. You have 19,000 some odd denarii. You are minus 100 immediately with the land taxes. Minus 100 on the land taxes, so don't get like too discouraged seeing that number. And you have 35 Libertas workforce despite having no actual buildings on this island. So it's good that they start you off with one. Here's one little trick. The warehouse or what I should say, the main harbor counts as a warehouse. If you decide that you don't want to build up front here, and maybe you want to start building up in there, or you maybe want to start building up on this ridge. Let's take this one, for example. Then what you can do is you can get a couple of these woodcutters, and it will be able to tell you if it can indeed cut the wood in this particular zone by hovering over in this spot. So right here, if we put down this woodcutter, it'll work at 100% because there's 172 trees in here. It's pretty dense forest, and it's going to function. So just go ahead and click. And what I typically like to do and what I recommend is you can have like 2 or 3 of these to start off because you want to get as much timber as you possibly can. Now, they can't deliver it to the warehouse, and obviously this is a little self-explanatory, but you can go ahead and build roads to it. And this is where you start with the whole diagonal construction method, if you so choose. You can either decide to turn it off or on, and it's right over here. So you can do control comma, or you can just toggle it off and on with just a simple click. If you decide you want to turn it off like that, you can, which means you can't do the whole diagonal construction. It will just be these like previous Anno 1800 type building styles. But if in the event that you want to test it out, which I highly recommend you do because diagonal building does get pretty addicting, you can go ahead and drag it down like so. And right now, these icons, it says no warehouse in range, but this one does not suffer that condition because now we have a road going towards our main harbor. So we're going to do the exact same with these 2 buildings as well. And now they're all going to be transporting down to here. This is a very crucial Anno tip, and this is going to go for like every freaking Anno game you're going to possibly play. There's always a timer with everything. So with the woodcutter itself, it's going to take 30 seconds to process 1 ton of wood. And we're not going to be counting the transport time from, obviously the woodcutter over to the harbor area. We're just going to be counting it in relation to the next building. So the sawmill is going to refine that 1 ton of wood every 30 seconds into timber, which essentially means this is a 1-to-1 production chain. And because it is a 1-to-1, we kind of want to have around 3 of these. So we're going to have one right over here, and right over here. So ideally, that woodcutter is going to deliver the wood to this warehouse, this one to this one, and this one to this one. Finally, they are going to all go ahead and deliver all of that timber into this very free use of a warehouse. And the reason why I'm saying to start off this way is because if you look at the warehouse before I clicked on it like an idiot, the maintenance cost right there is -6 denarii, and you have to use a workforce for it. So you don't want to be doing that. You want to build up as much as you can. Exclude this for now. Use your main harbor and find somewhere else to build. You can definitely go ahead and do this. I'm not discouraging you. If you want to just find like one spot in the far back over there to just hunker down with your production of timber, by all means, please do so. This is just one way that I find it becomes a little bit easier for players to start off with. And obviously, these tips and tricks are all my opinion. You guys can have your own and discuss them in the comment section in a healthy way. Thank you very much. And we are going to now go and build a road all the way to the proposed spot where I want to begin our whole settlement. And it is going to be right here along this little river going down into this bay area, which is going to look very nice when we start working on it little by little. And we'll bring it to like right about here. So let's begin with getting some residences out. And the way to do that, again, is by clicking the Libertas residence over here. And you have an additional option over here in the right being a planning mode. If, for those of you who played Anno 1800, this is your blueprint mode brought into this game. And you can go ahead and click V to toggle it, or you can just obviously do the click here. But let's go ahead and do the planning mode. Now, there's two different ways that I know, just based off of like what comments I received, is you can essentially do like the traditional Anno 1800 setup, and previous you can build like this. But I am different, gang. I'm very different. I love diagonally building in this game, and I don't like to conform to meta. I really don't. I like to push the limits to the best of my ability and make my settlements look as creative as possible whilst being as effective as possible. So that means I can also build a row over here, a row over here, and hell, even if I want to take this one step further, I can build like 2 homes right over here and another one in here, and guess what? All this is still going to work. I can bring a road all the way through down to here, make it look nice if it wants to cooperate with me. I can have a little piece to go over to here and link that up, and all those homes are going to work. But there's another cool little way on making the roads a little bit easier to build. If you decide that you want to go in this route, all you need to do is hold over right on any one of the homes, and it will automatically build the road around it, just like so. You can even do the same like right over here. Sometimes it does get a little derpy, so just bear that in mind. But without further ado, it's really important to get our first residences up, and you can use the upgrade tool right over here or press U. By which case you're going to be prompted with these little up arrows, and that will allow you to click and drag to build up all of these initial homes. Now, seeing this is really important. New options are available to you: sardines and porridge. Sardines or porridge can be provided to your people, and they will provide you with the following attributes. So now we have the two options that we just discussed, either or. You don't have to provide both of those particular items to your people. You can decide to pick and choose which ones you want. So ideally, what I normally do is for the Libertas classes, I like to provide both of their goods rather. So I provide them with porridge and I provide them with the fish. So I'm going to build one of the fisherman's huts right over here, again utilizing this building as the warehouse. And if we look at it, its processing time is going to be 1 minute. So this is going to be needs attribute plus 1 population on the island plus 1 income, which is fantastic. Does have a maintenance cost of 6 and a Libertas workforce requirement of 4, but we're going to see a little bit of an increase here in a moment. Additionally, with that, we have the oat farm. So let's take a look-see at this. The oat farm itself is going to process at 1 minute, and the porridge stand is going to process at 1 minute. So it's a 1-to-1 production. Excellent. Let's get that going. For the sake of this, I'm just going to make it look very basic. Normally, I would put a oat farm out there to be different, but I'm just going to make this as easy as possible. Excuse me. And you notice we have 0 out of 80 oat fields right over here. The best way to do this is just click and drag. It has to connect up to the main building itself, and you can build on forward. If you decide you don't like the way that your farms look at this point, you can always press and hold left shift, and you will continue to build additional farm fields. Doesn't provide you with any buff at the moment. It can later on, though. And then what we're going to do finally is build up this porridge stand. So we're going to put the porridge stand for the time being, like right over here. And make sure they're all connected up to the road and obviously to the warehouse. Now, this is another little thing that pops up for a tutorial for governor's requests. What he essentially is saying that you have a couple options. It's kind of introducing you to what you can do with your people from time to time as far as pop-ups are concerned. And he's essentially saying like, hey, I'll give you some timber. But, I mean, I'm trying to be nice about it. So you can either seize his goods completely outright, in which you'll get a happiness debuff on the island for an hour. That is what the active effect at the bottom of that screen is telling you. You can choose to buy his supply, which means you'll get the 20 timber, but you pay for it. Or you can wish him well, and you only get 10 of that timber. Depending on how your economy is at this point, if you're actually in the green, like we are not at the moment, you can choose to do this one. But for right now, I'm going to wish him well. And he'll give us 10 timber right there. So now we're sitting at 37. And if we go back to our people over here, we are seeing that they're starting to get their first sardines. One way to determine if you have enough stuff being made for your people is to go up here to the balance, which opens up the production tab. And the way that this is, if you played Anno 1800 before, these were flipped. So right now, the sardines right now is current potential 1 ton per minute, and then the white line shows the demand for it. So right now, we are good having the one fisherman's hut out there, and the same goes for the porridge, meaning that both of these goods are now going to be fulfilling the needs of our Libertas classes. And we're going to fast forward it here so we can see that. And now 2 additional options have opened up. One being for the market and the other one being for the tavern. The market is going to give us +1 income and +1 population, whilst the tavern provides us +1 population and +1 happiness. You can see now why I'm telling you it might be a good idea to provide both of everything that these guys want to them early on to boost your population, your finances, and get out of that red. And just before they start providing the porridge, you'll notice that this line is green if you only provide one of them, or one particular good to them. But if we fast forward it to the point that they start getting the porridge too, now you see that it's becoming a clear white line, and it'll go all the way to the end, essentially telling you that both of these goods are being provided to your Libertas workforces, and additional options will be open. That's why even with this little small distribution of homes that we have here, we now have like almost every single thing unlocked for them. But let's hold off on unlocking the final 2 before or after I build up these. So the market needs to be in a good spot and needs obviously to be connected up to a road. If it's not, then the roads are not going to be lit up. So this is one really good thing. In 1800, the buildings were just there as flat needs. Like, they need to have a market right in range. That's it. They're going to give you some money, but this one is giving you money plus an additional population, so per home. So you're going to go ahead and build this down right over here, and then quickly go to look at the residents. So you can see that the market need is slowly but surely maxing out. So let's go ahead and fast forward it so you can see that all its wonderful, wonderful glory. And then the other one is the tavern. There is a difference between them, as we clearly saw. So the tavern can go over here. But notice the difference. Where the market is, it's getting every single one of the homes. But the tavern is not. You can choose to do either or. Maybe if we had the tavern over here, it would provide it to every single one of the people, right? So let's go ahead and try to find a good spot for this, where it is indeed going to be in the centermost point of our little village over here. These 2 homes, another good point I guess I can make at the moment is relocations. You can go ahead and relocate either by using G to swap it over, or you can just click over this particular tool down here and move your residences to another location. And over there is totally fine because they're still on the same roads. They're still getting the bonus from the market. So we can go ahead and plop the tavern down, like maybe right over here. Which means that every single one of our homes now are benefiting from not only the marketplace, but also the tavern. And you go ahead and look, now it's starting to fill out as well. And then you start getting island attributes up here. So the first one we're noticing is the happiness. We want to get happiness up. We want to get the fire safety up. We want the health related issues to go up. That will be in a subsequent guide going over all of those. But if we max this out, if we fast forward it, we will see that now we're going to have 2 out of the 3 bars that are completely solid white. So let's go ahead and wait for that to finish while the guy's just all nice and happy. And boom. Doesn't take too long. And now we're going to work on the final bits, which are going to be the tunics and the hats. I like to call them the hats. And the way to do this, obviously, is go back down over here, because this is where we have a majority of our population, or our industry, excuse me. And let's look at the tunics first. The tunics are going to require a hemp farm, okay? Hemp farm to operate, and then the actual spinner is going to also need that particular building, which is going to be a processing time of 1 minute. So 1 minute for the hemp farm, 1 minute for the spinner. Easy, 1-to-1 ratio. Let's get it going. Hemp farm coming up. Go ahead and build this thing right over here. Be different. Use the diagonal construction if you so please. You do not have to. I'm not forcing it. This is 100% how you like to play, and go on from there. So just max it out the best way you can. I'm going to do this because I'm crazy. And now you have your hemp farm going right over there. But let's look at the spinner now, because this is a new feature with Anno 1.17 in which the buildings that you have production-wise can provide buffs and potentially debuffs, depending on what they are, to the citizens in the immediate vicinity. If I were to put this down, you see how it has this big radius around it, and it has a +1 denarii over it? That means these particular buildings would give me +1 denarii, but hold the moment. They're not actually giving me money. It's these guys. These guys are the ones that are going to be giving me money. So we want to have, ideally, this spinner be in our little village over here and covering a majority of the buildings, which if we put it here, it definitely will. So let's go ahead and build it immediately. Problem is, we don't have a road to it, so let's immediately construct the road, and it'll come up with a little pop-up here in a second because we forgot something. Just wait for it. Right over there. And that is no warehouse within range. We can easily fix that. Let's just go ahead and put down a warehouse right over here on the edge of our little settlement. And Ben might pop up for you. I don't know why he's popping up for me. I thought I turned this one off. But essentially, it tells you like how the roads and productions to warehouses after you build your first one is. But because you use the main harbor area, that's why I guess he's popping up late. But now, this guy is going to go all the way to this warehouse to collect some hemp, bring it back to the spinner, make the tunics, and then deposit it back in. And in which case, these guys are going to give us some money in the immediate vicinity, along with their actual good being supplied. So that's pretty good. They're going to provide us 2 denarii for that. But because they're also in range of this, you're going to get that additional +1. So that means you're going to get 3 denarii. Pretty sure that's how it works. Don't crucify me if it's not. The next one is the hats. So you're going to need a sheep farm, and then you're going to need a felter. But hold on a moment here, champ. Hold on a moment. Do you notice something? Right over here. How fast is that sheep farm? It's only 30 seconds, whilst the felter itself is a minute. This is a first little test. It means that one sheep farm can hold over 2 felters at any given time. So let's go ahead and build up that first sheep farm right over here. And it'll prompt you again to build some of these sheepfolds, which do cost 1 timber each. And you definitely want to max it out, otherwise they're not going to do anything for you. So this one is going to produce 1 ton of wool per 30 seconds, which is great. And now we need to get the felter going. So we're going to use the same general idea, and we're going to build this the best spot we can in our little village over here. And this seems to be the best spot for it because it's getting as many homes as possible. Additionally, it still can make it all the way to the warehouse that we have set up based off of the green track on the road. So let's go ahead and put that down. So right now we have the spinner, we have the felter, we have the market, we have the tavern, we have the sardines, and we have the porridge. Pretty much everything these guys need to start off. Perfect, perfect, perfect. And we should hopefully see this balance kind of stabilize little by little. What I would recommend at this point is to continue building some additional homes, like right over here. We can do that over here as well. And if you want to move and, you know, the diagonal, like from this way to this way, you can use the greater than or less than signs on your keyboard. I'm not entirely certain which one it would be for console players, but you can always go ahead and do that. I'm not sure if a road can go over right next to it there, but we can do something like this. And then you can just do road, road, road. So now they're all connected. But as you can see, they're not within range of this, and they're kind of within range of the market. It's still not going to be too terrible because later on you can pave these roads and the effective range of these buildings will become a little bit more. But for right now, while they're getting their needs, which is slowly but surely happening, I do want to turn your attention to the research on the left. I'm not going to go too much into it right now, but do note that research is something that this game does have, and it's really, really important to at least touch on it. There are 3 different tracks: economic, civic, and military, as you can clearly see. I'm going to be very honest with you. You're going to start in economic because there is a fantastic track to start off with, and that is working in to get trade post improvements, going into the sewing circles, and then going into the fish markets. And we will touch on that in the next guide episode. But as you can see, by providing everything to our people, we are now in a positive balance, and it is still going up. This game's not going to give you a crazy high balance number, I will say that, so just be prepared. But now we have this all set up, and if we go to the upgrade tool, in a short while we should be able to see some of these homes wanting to upgrade. And there it is. So now we have the option to upgrade our Libertas into, or I guess our tier 1 residences into the tier 2. Always make sure that you have enough before doing so. You just click and drag. And now the next tier is indeed here. Very simple early game little ideas. You don't have to rush with this game, obviously, because, you know, the NPCs that you have currently going on in this session are not going to be crazy expanding on you. So you can take it easy to understand all of these different chains, how they work, the timers, and really play around in the Libertas class to even get their population size considerably larger. Hell, like, just to give you a little bit of an example, what you can do is, like, about this much, this can be a decent settlement start. And then, heck, you can even go to the other side over here and maybe build up to, like, maybe here. And I'm using the dirt road just as a marker to say, like, hey, that's a pretty decent settlement size right from the beginning. So I hope you guys enjoyed this guide. Please let me know if you want additional ones. I will use this as a little bit of a test. So if you like it, please let me know. If you have any questions, please type them. Be respectful in the comment section. And as always, please consider like, commenting, subscribing, hit that bell button, sharing it with your friends. And I'll catch you in the next one, hopefully.